Hey, hello YouTube, this is Vlad aka Whiskey Foxtrot in person. This is me on screen. I don't do my YouTube videos with, showing my beautiful self. Anyway, I was asked by a few people how I have my system set up for Escape from Tarkov. Since I'm an AMD and Radeon user, I have a Ryzen 7 1800X system. Well, my main system is a Ryzen 7 1800X with 32 gigs of RAM and those two sexy Radeon RX Vega 64 cards you see behind me. Everything is water cooled, so I do have a little advantage there with heat and all that good stuff and reaching maximum card performance. And I will cover that in the Radeon Settings app up there, and we'll take a look at the performance, the task manager rather, to the right. Your right, yes. So let's get that going. Again, I'm Vlad aka Whiskey Foxtrot, and I will be looking at Battlestate's Escape from Tarkov, a game I've been playing a lot lately. I started playing last year in February, March, and I had to put it down because it just would not work with my system, not properly. You know, I couldn't get more, or couldn't get anything over 40 or 50 frames per second, which is playable in this game, but not for me. I need to have at least, smooth frames. When I lock onto a target, I want to make sure I'm able to hit them and not have to worry about, desync and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, let's take a look at Escape from Tarkov and my settings. Alright, so let's take a quick look at my Radeon settings, and as promised, a look at the task manager. Task manager here is GPU 0 for the first GPU and GPU 1 for my secondary GPU. I use my secondary GPU as my encoder, my secondary card for GPU cycles and whatnot for whenever I need to do work in Blender, the small jobs I do here, and any kind of compute work. Alright, so GPU 0 is my gaming GPU, which I will show on the other side as well. CPU doesn't usually go above 20%, 25% when I'm playing the game as well. I'm also doing other things like the encoder. Part of the encoder also uses CPU cycles, so there's that. Alright, let's put that away. Let's take a look at Radeon settings. And let's blow that up a bit. Alright, Radeon settings, I am still on 18.5.2 as of August 14th. I have not updated to the current drivers, which are 18.7.2 if I'm not mistaken. And here you can see the rest of my system, my AMD Ryzen 7 1800X and 1750 for my GPU core, or my GPU clock, and my two Radeon RX Vega 64s. Same cards, they're all water cooled, so I just slapped some pipes on them, made them water cooled them with EKWB water blocks. I have another video on how I did all that, but that's not what this video is about. This is about my current settings with or for EFT, Escape from Tarkov by Battlestate Games. Let's take a quick look at the gaming section of Radeon settings. Did I click? It bugs out every now and then whenever I go into the gaming section. I have a pretty long list of games. Anyway, there's no card here for EFT, no tab for Escape from Tarkov, which is pretty bad, but whatever. It's a beta game, and it leans more towards NVIDIA anyway. So global settings, these are my two cards. This is card number 1, or GPU 0 in the task manager, and this is GPU 1, or my secondary GPU. This is my encoder, and this is my gaming GPU. Everything here is pretty much set to default except shader cache. I always turn it off for gaming, and that's pretty much it. Of course, I don't use Crossfire, so that's turned off. I use each card individually for day-to-day tasks, and Also for any 3D work, any rendering I need to do, any compute task, any framework testing, etc, etc, etc. Turbo, just for to keep things simple. Temperatures on GPU number 1, my main card. Oops, only click it once. But right now it's at 35. The default is at 945 megahertz for the memory, and the GPU clock speed is variable. Right now it's sitting idle, so it doesn't really need to do much. Let's see, it's a bit higher on the encoding GPU, which I'm using right now to record this stuff with. And temperature is at 34 degrees Celsius. Again, let's switch back to the main GPU. This one is set turbo. I think it starts, the lowest setting is 1667 and it jumps up to 1750 if it needs it. I hardly ever see that. Even during the game, it just jumps up to about 18 or to 800 megahertz to 1000 every now and then. It'll spike a little bit here and there, but that's about it. The game doesn't seem demanding at all. Not on the hardware. It, you know, even on the CPU level, it doesn't exceed 25%. It's very memory intensive, this game. So the faster memory you have, you know, the more memory and the faster memory you have, the better for the game overall performance, which we will see in a minute. So, alright, so let's take a look at Escape from Tarkov settings. By the way, here is the task manager again. You can see GPU 0, the first GPU at 64% usage, and this is just in the menus. So Escape from Tarkov is it's a very demanding game, so keep that in mind. You don't want your average cheap gaming system for this game at the moment. Alright, graphics, I have it set to, my preferred settings is at 1920 by 1080. I have VSync on, and also everything else I just set the high and ultra settings. I turned off Ssao, the secondary, and the third one as well. The anisotropic filtering is on, and I keep anti-aliasing to FXAA. Z-blur is off, of course. I do. This is one of the games I keep VSync on. Alright, so play-wise, I have not seen this at this setting. At these settings, go or dip below 70 frames per second. And that's with pretty much everything turned off, and the game looks pretty damn amazing. So let's take a look at that. And of course you'll see the occasional dip down, the very low dips, but it lasts just like a millisecond or something. So it is a bit darker right now. I'll fast forward to where it's actually I'll just play through this a bit. Excuse me. And I have some other videos on the game itself. This is just to you know, to get through and look at some of the stats. So at those settings, 1920 by 1080p at everything high except for SSAO turned off, all the SSAOs, anisotropic on, and Z-blur off. I don't really care for Z-blur in any game. It adds a lot of overhead and doesn't really add much to the game. You know, I want to kill stuff, I want to see stuff. So here it is. Again, I have the in-game FPS counter turned on, and I'm also using MSI's Afterburner, which you can see on the left. It really doesn't dip below 70 frames. And well, sorry, I would say it averages about 70 to 80 frames on those settings. And for a game on the RX Vega 64, that's pretty low. It is very playable, of course. Anything over 60 frames in my book is playable. This is not a twitchy shooter, not like Quake Champions or Overwatch, where frames can definitely help. I'm just turning on the light to see any dips, any changes. Not really. You can see the detail. This game is pretty amazing too, I have to say. Alright, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit so we can post editing. So I'll be quiet here for a second. Let's fast forward and keep a look at the frames. Well, there you have it, folks. Just a quick recap. At 1920 by 1080p, at these settings, I get roughly a bit between 80 and 100 frames per second, with occasional spike up or down. That's during desync and server issues. Anyway, it doesn't hamper performance. It is buttery smooth. The texture quality I keep on high, shadows quality on ultra, object LOD, or level of detail quality slider, same with any other slider in this game for that matter. They don't work. They're simply placeholders, so everything else is where they were at default. Moving on to Ssao, or screen space ambient occlusion, I keep that off. Same with contact Ssao and SSR, all three are off. Anisotropic filtering I keep on. Anti-aliasing I set to FXAA. And two more things to note. Two things I turned off by default usually are Z-Blur and V-Sync. I turn V-Sync off because I generally play on FreeSync monitors. I have my Pixio PX347C. I also play on the PX329 and PX277. Shout out to pixiogaming.com. Check them out. Excellent monitors. The PX329 is 165 Hertz FreeSync monitor, and the PX277 is a 144 Hertz monitor. But my PX347C is my 2K monitor. I play at 3440 by 1440p at these same settings, and I get around 60 to 70 frames per second, and it's still smooth. So FreeSync I turn off because it's a major overhead and I use FreeSync monitors, but in this game it actually helps to smooth things out even more, so I keep that checked. Z-Blur, I am not a huge fan of that effect, so I turn that off, and also because it adds some overhead, but I just don't like that effect, so I keep it off. In this game though, it actually doesn't have a huge impact on hardware requirements. Anyway folks, that's it for me. I hope you liked this video. Leave the comments below, give a thumbs up if you did like it, thumbs down if you didn't. I will catch you guys later. Peace out.